We're going to start off with a jazz band here, and we're going to play a little bit of a holiday standard called Silver Bells. We hope you enjoy. Alrighty then, the jazz band has one more tune for you this evening. It is a rock and roll tune called Hocus Pocus, maybe better suited for earlier in October, but we're going to play it right now. It's very fast, very furious, it's so cool, and we are going to be featuring two soloists. We're going to be featuring Amelia Cheeseman on alto saxophone, as well as Dom Santiago. As soon as we're done, we'll rotate in, we'll get the show choir up here performing, and we'll get on with the performance. Thank you very much.
winter celebration. Our first song tonight is I Hear America Singing, which was sung at the South Dakota All-State Chorus and Orchestra event at the end of October. Our singers in front, there's supposed to be 8, but there's only 7 tonight. They were the ones who were selected to go and participate for Chamberlain High School. So they are Nisi Vaught, Sailor Lipper, Kayla Mora, Thomas Powell, Jack Swanson, Sequoia Altamirano, Megan Hopkins, and not here is David Newton. So congratulations to them, and I Hear America Singing.
I hear America singing.
I love to include our students. Excuse me, I love to include the students who are able to play piano if the song allows for it. So thank you, Nisi, for playing for us. Thank you very much. Our next song is a song called Angel's Carol. Choir, what do we call this song? John's Butter. We call it John's Butter because it's got by a guy named John Rutter. Yeah, there you go. Good job, guys. All right, here we go, Angel's Carol.
Shining out so brightly as a sign from
choir portion is, a staple, a favorite of all, and a typical closer. Percussion played by Maxwell Kelsey and Jack Swanson and Mr. Carlson. So, thank you all so much for being here.
and I want to thank you all for being here with us tonight. Our first tune of the night is called Invicta, and it is written by James Barrington. This is definitely not our shortest tune, but it is still my favorite. Invicta will leave you humming these catchy rhythms for you. Enjoy the first tune of our concert. part about this tune is the tempo, not rushing or driving. I hope you enjoy Carol of the Bells.
Alrighty, so there's one more tune left on the concert tonight, but I do have a couple things that I need to mention here, so I'll bring out my trusty little sheet of paper because I wrote it down. Alright, first things first. Every year, second week of October, as soon as marching band gets over, there's always a group of kids within this group that tries out for All-State Orchestra. All-State Orchestra is a state-recognized event. The best musicians in the state audition. It's very rigorous. It's a written test. I think this year there's 2 etudes as well as 4 different other pieces of music, professional level music, that these kids have to complete. And of course, it is not actually written in stone that Chamberlain gets one in. But it just so happened this year that we did. And I want to just tell you guys the gravity of what this young man did. And that's Maxwell Kelsey. So give him a round of applause. As a percussionist in this state, most of the great percussionists try out for All-State Orchestra. But there is one spot that every percussionist in the state wants, and that is the timpani spot. And it is a solo timpani thing. They get to play basically the entire time, where all the rest of the percussionists have to sometimes rest or not play at all. So every single person, every percussionist that is even worth their salt in the state goes for the timpani spot. And Maxwell Kelsey beat out everybody else. I also told him I was going to say good things about him, but he better have it recorded because it'll never happen again. So, you got another gift for so you keep going. All right.
passed out at the winter concert last year. Oh, that was 2 years already? Thank you for coming to our Christmas concert. The last selection we'll be performing for you is Prairie Dances by David Hollenseeker. I personally enjoy this song because the basses actually get a moving line, along with a fun and quick tune you'd hear while running through the Prairie Hills.
talking portion. All right. I have a few thank yous to say. First and foremost, I would love to thank my administrators, Mr. Steckelberg and Dr. Zeitz and Mr. Kurtz and Mr. Johnson, and I think that's all of them. Yeah, so I'd like to thank them so much for all their support and help. I always go into their office, the first thing they say is, "Oh no, what can I do to help?" So I always am very thankful for that. Thank you very much. I would also very much like to thank Jim Killian and Darwin Hunt for setting all of this up. I mean, they are wonderful, 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 and I'm glad I don't have to do it, so thank you so much, Jim and Darwin. Can we applaud them, please? I would also like to thank my wonderful, wonderful colleagues up at the high school and the middle school, Mr. Carlson and Ms. Schlenker. Mr. Carlson is always the first person to say, "Okay, I'll play the instruments for you, no problem." So thanks, Mr. Carlson. Thank you, Ms. Schlenker, for all your support. Thank you, guys. And last but certainly not least, I have to thank this wonderful woman to my left. She is my rock. Thank you, Leanne. My job would be much harder.
So, on top of that, I got a couple thank yous, but before I do that, of course, we got to address the elephant in the room. Our trip is coming up. And if you haven't heard, of course, we were originally going to go to New York City, and with all the vaccine mandates and all the little hoops that you have to jump through with groups of people, it just wasn't going to be feasible for us to try that. And I've only been there once and I wanted to go back. But however, 2 weeks ago, my travel agent called us and he goes, "You know, we were going to go to Branson as kind of a second place." But then he goes, "Well, Phil, how would you feel about going to Nashville?" And I'm like, "Yes." And on top of that, he goes, "And how about hitting St. Louis on the way back through?" So now, instead of going to New York City this spring in April, we're going to be going to Nashville for 2 days. It might be 3 days. And then spending another 2 days in St. Louis with the group of kids that are sitting over there and the kids sitting behind me. It's going to be a fantastic time. The reason that I bring that up, though, is this. If you're somebody that's going on the trip, the last payment was due last week, December 7th. $750 has to be in your account by that time, so make sure you ask your child, "Hey, how much money you got in your account?" Because I have it posted on the window of my band room. All right, I feel a lot. If you want to ask me, that's fine too. Please don't call me, though, because if I'm not around that list, I have to keep track of 87 kids as well as 22 adults. So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I apologize. But make sure you're asking about that stuff because it's coming up here. The other thing that I wanted to mention is this. I know I had a lot of people that were very, very disappointed that we weren't going to New York City, and that we had some people that were like, "Well, if we don't go to New York City, I'm going to need to pull out of the trip." The deadline to pull out of the trip and get your own personal money back is going to be next week on Thursday. So make sure you're communicating it either with me or directors in this regard so that we can get you reimbursed if that is the route you choose to go. Of course, I'll sit here and say this. I've worked with most of these kids right here. I mean, the least amount of time I've worked with any of them this is in my 5th year. They started with me as 5th graders. And the one thing that I want to do is I want to reward them. And one of the few things that I can do is take some of these trips, get a chance to be like a teacher, but not like super teacher. Just like take that hat off for a little bit and just go and have fun. And so, and anybody that's been on these trips, it is just a wild time. It is so much fun, and we're going to have a blast. So please be talking to your students, communicate with me, communicate with the director. It doesn't matter. Just let us know what's going on. All right, thank yous here. Got to thank my administration. Jeff Steckelberg's out there, and as well as Dr. Zeitz. And I do have to mention one man because, you know, just like his predecessor before him, he truly realizes that activities director means activities, not just athletics. And that is Bill Kurtz. And you have to give him a round of applause right now. I need to thank my colleagues, Mrs. Lachelle Olivier, who's up there, as well as Joni Willoughby and Katie Schlenker. Thank you very much for being here today. Of course, I would be remiss, I do this every concert. Mom, Dad, thank you very much for being great people. And of course, my lovely wife, thank you. Okay, so now here's something for Darwin, all right? We already thanked him earlier. But as soon as we're done, of course, there's a whole bunch of people I need to thank because this was a huge venue change. And I hope you guys know that when we move our stuff down here and use this as a concert hall, it affects so many people. And luckily for me, I know the basketball coaches so dang well. And of course, they walk up to me and are like, man, okay, yeah, we got you. You know, let's help each other out. So like Steve Schomar, Matt Hilson, Zach Nelson, those people have worked so well with me. And I gotta thank them. So give them just a round of applause. But we also have to help Darwin out because, of course, after this moment, this whole arena changes into something completely different tomorrow at 4 o'clock when we have a doubleheader basketball game in here. So the one thing that Darwin asked is that when we pick up tonight, I'm asking for anybody that can help as well as students. Do not touch the chairs. Darwin says, don't touch them. So we do what Darwin says. But he does need the show choir risers picked up. He said he would like that. He doesn't want any of that touched. And more importantly, if you look at what we have in front of us, not just the kids here, but all this equipment out here is actually our classroom. And I actually can't conduct class tomorrow morning if I don't get it loaded. And there takes 2 loads. So if anybody can help out getting this stuff loaded on the trailer, helping out on top of the hill, and if I can get home before 10 o'clock tonight, that would just be great. Just great, all right? But thank you to all those people that have helped out today. And I do need to mention one person, and I told him I was going to pick on him. There was one kid during 7th period. He asked for it off. His teacher was a study hall teacher, and I just got to recognize that Dusty Rose came down here for 20 minutes right before dang basketball practice and helped me out. So thank you, Dusty. And now, I will keep this brief. This community has had a lot of bad beats within the last month and a half to 2 months. A lot of bad beats. A lot of people passing long before they were supposed to. And a lot of people that meant a lot to people in this band, as well as myself. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one person. And I want you guys to think about this because I don't want the attention, but Lowell Carlson was a wonderful man. And in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of the holidays, one of the things that man did is all of his selfless acts of service to the people around him. You see people doing good things for other people and then getting their names in the newspaper and names on the news and stuff like that. And every once in a while I have to think to myself, did they do it just so they could get the recognition? And then I was lucky enough to have a role model who I can't count how many numerous times he just did things and didn't want anything in return. So my challenge to everybody in here is this. Next week is Christmas. At least once a day, find something, say something nice to somebody that maybe you didn't care for or had a disagreement with. When you see that person walking into a store and their arms are full, or out of a store and their arms are full, run up there and open up the dang door. Do those little things. Because I will say this from the bottom of my heart, you have no idea what the tiniest things can mean to people. So that's my challenge to you. Go out, have a wonderful holiday season, have a wonderful weekend coming up here. Spread the love, spread the joy, and let's have a great end of the semester, kids. Thank you very much. Dom, it's your turn.